Hi, this is something I've decided to do for a while, and I've been like going over it and just thinking, do I really want to put myself out there? But I wanted to talk about my journey with having cancer twice. My first diagnosis was in May of 2018. I was feeling just different symptoms for about 2 years. And I relocated from Philadelphia to Georgia in 2016. My oldest daughter's father passed away in 2015, November. And I promised myself once I relocate that I was going to figure out what was going on with me, why I wasn't feeling well. All the time I was just not feeling good, no matter if I tried to lose weight, if I exercise. Um, I was just always sick and didn't know why. I always get headaches where I'm usually one of those people that get migraines. Um, so I knew, but the headaches I was getting first was just constant migraine, which I knew when I get migraine, but when there's different headaches, I knew that was a migraine. I had where for a while, even being in Pennsylvania, where when I would swallow liquid, it would just hurt like hell just to swallow any water, any tea. But when I eat, it wouldn't bother me. And then my throat was always just bothering me. And there are certain times I would lose my voice for no reason. Even now, I still do at times. Um, so when I came to Georgia, I started going to the doctor and just figuring out, what was wrong with my throat. At first, my primary kept saying, giving me medication, thinking it was migraines, and I keep telling them no, it wasn't migraine. So eventually, um, I went to my rheumatologist because in 2013 I was diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome, and so when I moved to Georgia, I needed to follow up with a rheumatologist. So I did get one from my primary. I followed up with her. And when I started just still not feeling good, she referred me to a gastro doctor to see what was going on with my throat. I They didn't see anything strange except for that I had a stomach infection, and they gave me medication for that. And then my rheumatologist again referred me to a neuro doctor. So when I went to the neuro doctor and I saw the assistant doctor, she kept giving me different medications, saying it was migraines, and I kept saying to her, "These headaches are not migraines; they're getting worse, and there has to be something." So she kept trying giving me medication. When I went back, it's not working. The headaches are getting worse, and she wanted to do an MRI, but I said to her I did not meet my deductible as yet, so I didn't want to do the MRI until. So in the meantime, when I went back at one point, she wanted to do Botox because that would be good for migraine. And I said, these are not migraines, but I'm ready to do my MRI. So I remember scheduling the MRI. I had an afternoon appointment like after 5. And the next day, like about 8 o'clock, I got a call and I knew my result. Like I already knew what it was, that it wasn't good. Um, because these headaches that I was getting would stop me in my tracks. I mean, they would last sometimes for hours. If I fell asleep, I had to wake up. It woke me out my sleep, and I could not sleep. So when I got the call, I knew it wasn't good, and they was like, "You have to come in the office right away." So when I went in the office, the neuro doctor himself, came in and he said, "We got your result, and you have a tumor, and it's big and it's pressing, and that's why you're having so bad headache." And all I could do, I just cried. And I said, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew something was wrong. And I'm just glad you guys found out what was wrong. So he said, you have to go to an ENT doctor. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry. You have to go to an ENT doctor. Um, and I remember I was seeing another ENT doctor also before even this, since I've been, and my ears was bothering me, and that's because of the tumor. And he didn't even realize because he didn't let me do an MRI or anything. So they kept giving me, I kept getting infections. Nobody knew why. Um, and then he did a surgery, put a plug in my ears, but it wasn't. It was because of the tumor why my ears was bothering me when I finally found out. So I didn't go back to that ENT. I went to another ENT that my friend gave me the name for, because she went to him and he was very good. So I went to him. And when I went to him, I had a bad infection in my nasal passage. My airway were blocked because of the tumor. So that he had to give me medication to get the infection to go away before he could see in the back of my nose. Um, and once that went down and he was able to see, then like the following week, he had to schedule surgery to clear my sinus. All three of my sinuses were blocked, and to do a biopsy, and to cut out, see if they could have cut out the tumor. But when they went, he only did the sinus, and then he was able to do a biopsy. They had to send it away to the Mayo Clinic, and I already knew that it was cancer. So after my results finally came in after, I guess, a couple of weeks, and I went in for my appointment, and the doctor came in, and he was like, you have nasopharyngeal cancer. And he said, I don't remember if I cried. I was in shock, but I kind of knew it was. I just didn't know what kind. And he was like, that cancer is rare. It just, so bad things happen to good people. He was very, very considerate. Made me feel like, I don't remember. I don't think I cried at that point. Is when I went to my car and I called my friend, and I said to her, I have cancer, and she started crying, and I said, don't cry. I'm gonna be okay. God got me. And I called some other friends and from Philadelphia, and I was like, all that symptoms I was having, I have cancer. I have stage 3 nasopharyngeal cancer. And then the same day, they had me go across to the oncologist. This was in Gwinnett, in Duluth, Georgia. Then I saw the oncologist. I had to go see a radiation doctor to decide how many treatments I was going to get and how many chemo I was going to get. So at the time, I had 35 sessions of radiation, which was, I think, 7 weeks. Yeah. And then I had every 2 weeks, I had chemo. So it went along with the radiation. And radiation, when you have radiation of your head and neck cancer, it tends to mess with your throat. So I went through a lot in 2018. It reached to the point where I had to get a feeding tube in my stomach, which is also called a peg tube. They couldn't even go through my mouth to put the tube. They had to cut me in my stomach to put the tube. I couldn't swallow, not even my saliva. It hurt. I was in the hospital, supposed to be in for a day and come out. I ended up being there for a week. Then, again, after getting treatments and radiation, I ended up where I wasn't able to even I wasn't drinking enough like I should, and I was dehydrated. So I remember I went to my appointment, one of my appointments, and my doctor, this is when I realized how serious it was. My friend knew, but I guess I was in denial. And I remember the doctor saying, I have my little baby with me because I have a 6-year-old. At that time, she was 4. And I think 4 or 3, she was young. And my friend had to call her because they had to admit me because I was weak. And he was like, Miss Thompson, if we don't get this now, next year, this time, you will not be here. And at that point is when it became real to me, and I cried. And my friend came and took my daughter, and she kept my kids for me because I was in the hospital, was supposed to be there just for probably a day or two, ended up being 2 weeks. Um, and I lost a lot of weight. At the point before treatment, I was like way up there because I was eating to pacify, not feeling good. So I gained a lot of weight, and in 2015 I had my baby, my daughter. So even when I didn't know what was wrong with me, and so I had that baby weight plus eating, so I was about 260, and I went from 260 to about 167. So this was in 2019. I was about down to 167. I lost a lot of weight. Then I went into remission in 2019, and then I was able, because one of the things I always said when I moved to Georgia, I wanted to buy a house, and it so happened that I had to stop about that request because I had to try to get better. And then after I started feeling better, then in May of 2019, I was able to, with the grace of God, I went back to work of October 2018. And then in May of 2019, I was able to purchase a house for me and my kids. And the October of that year, my company closed down. So I had to find a job again. And it took like about 6 months before I found a job. And then in 2020, I started the job March of 2020, and then September of 2020, my cancer, I had symptoms again, realized cancer came back. I had to have surgery. I had surgery October of 2014 to cut, because what it really was adenoid cystic carcinoma. So the way to treat that would have been I had to have surgery and radiation because the cancer was, part of it is on the base of my skull, so they only could cut the part that they could get to. And then I had radiation for the rest that they could not take out. And I after I had the surgery, I was in the hospital for like about 4 days. I came out. Did my radiation. Um, and of course, you still have to follow up with the doctors for a little bit and still follow up with my oncologist. And then the radiation doctor, and when I take tests again. And then after a while, I was still going through because, of course, you got to do your test until they find out whether you're in remission or not. And then I still started having symptoms again, where it was another tumor pressing on the nerve. Even my right side is a little off. And I had to do radiation again to get that tumor shrink. And at first I refused. I didn't want to do the radiation. But when the doctor said to me, if this will eventually take your life if you don't, we're not saying the radiation will help. I can't, but at least try. And then when I thought about it, I said, I want to live for my kids. So I'm going to do the radiation even though I hate it. So I did the radiation, and that did help the pain. Right now, my last MRI, I still am doing treatment. I did Keytruda for a whole year last year, and I still have till November this year to do radiation. Not radiation, Keytruda. It's a medicine that I get by IV every 3 weeks. Um, now, um, I they can't say I'm in remission, but it's not spreading anywhere. Um, Glory to God. Um, at one point, I was even angry at God because I'm like, why, if I prayed before and you took it away, why you let it come back? And then it took me watching people and realize, it's not God. Sometimes we go through for other people's to see that, if I could go through this, you can go through your situation. So sometimes our story is not for us, but it's to motivate and elevate someone else who could not have been strong as you. So I thank God for that. One thing I ask God for is that He allow me to be here to see my kids grow up. Because I had my kids at a later age. My son just turning 17. I have a daughter that just turned 11, and I have a 6-year-old that will be 7 in July. And I will be 50 in July as well. So I ask God for long life to just let my kids be grown so they're able to take care of themselves. Right now, I'm feeling much better than I've ever been feeling. Because at some point, I also could not, sometime I went through where I couldn't eat. And when I can't eat, I lose weight. Once I start eating, then I'm eating carbs or stuff I shouldn't eat. Of course, you gain some weight back. And I thank God for where I am now. I don't take it lightly because some people don't get the opportunity or the chances that I've gotten. So twice, and I'm still here. So when I hear of people that get cancer and just gone within a year or so, that really touches me because cancer is one of those things that can take you out of here like this. But thank God that I'm still here. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my story so someone out there could be encouraged and to know that no matter what you're going through, there's always someone that's have it worse than you. So I hope this encourages someone, hope it motivates someone, and I hope it makes you know that no matter what, you just have to fight and you have to not speak that over you, but be encouraged and know that God, He doesn't leave us. We leave Him, but He never leaves us and He never forsakes us. So I just want to share a little bit of my story. I hope this helps someone and be encouraged. Have a blessed evening. And I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for watching. Click, share, comment, ask your questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you so much for your time.